Yuuta never would have thought that while still a college student, he would end up becoming the father of 3 girls. He had lost his parents when he was young, and he was raised by his older sister Yuri. Later on, Yuri married a man named Shingo, who was divorced and had 2 daughters. Not long after, they also had a daughter together, so Yuuta decided to live on his own. But today, he was invited by his sister to come over and look after the 3 girls. As soon as Yuuta arrived at the door, he was pulled into the house by Yuri's second daughter, Miu. After entering the house, Miu went to pour Yuuta something to drink. Feeling bored, Yuuta picked up a toy on the floor. Right then, a little girl suddenly began crying, saying the toy was hers. This was Yuri's youngest daughter, Hina. Seeing Hina cry, Yuuta immediately tried to find a way to cheer her up. Before long, Hina was laughing happily because of him. Yuuta wanted to use the bathroom and then come back to keep playing with Hina, but the moment he opened the door, he found Sora changing her clothes inside. She was also Yuri's eldest daughter. After dinner, Yuuta fell asleep on the sofa. Meanwhile, Sora took her 2 younger sisters out to buy something. At that moment, Yuuta's brother-in-law, Shingo, came home. Seeing the scene, Shingo thought Yuuta was some kind of pervert. He grabbed a shoehorn and started beating him. Thankfully, Yuri returned home just in time to clear up the misunderstanding. It turned out it was all Miu's prank. That night, the whole family was enjoying a warm and lively evening together. Yuri then explained why she had asked Yuuta to come. She and her husband were planning to travel abroad to purchase rare metals, but they would need to be gone for about a week. So she hoped Yuuta could take care of the 3 girls for a few days. When Yuri saw Yuuta agree, she and her husband left early the next morning, and so, Yuuta spent the day playing with the 3 girls. But that night, while they were watching a cartoon, a breaking news alert suddenly appeared. The plane Yuri and her husband were on had crashed. No one could have imagined that such a shocking thing would happen in just a single day. The relatives sat together and discussed the issue of adopting the 3 sisters, but none of them were willing to take in all 3 girls at once. The 3 sisters were definitely going to be separated. This made Yuuta think back to his childhood. Back then, Yuri was just a college student, but she still insisted on raising Yuuta on her own, because he was her only family, and she didn't want to be separated from him. Thinking of this, Yuuta firmly stated that he would be the one to raise the 3 sisters. Even though Miu and Sora weren't related to him by blood, they still called Yuri mom, so that made them his family, and they were absolutely a family that could not be separated. He would raise these 3 girls just like his sister had raised him. And so, Yuuta set off toward home with the 3 girls. Hina had no idea what was going on. She still looked completely innocent. Miu was also smiling cheerfully, as if the loss of her loved ones hadn't hurt her at all. But Yuuta knew Miu was only pretending to be strong. She was afraid her sadness would affect her 2 sisters. Yuta's home was very far away, but before heading there, he wanted to take them out for a meal. However, the family restaurant was full of parents and their children. To avoid making the girls sad, Yuuta decided to change the location. In the end, he thought of the perfect place: a karaoke bar. They could sing and eat at the same time. Yuuta ordered fried chicken and fries for them, and the moment the door opened, he saw his good friend Koichi. Yuuta told Koichi everything that had happened recently. Just then, Yuta's phone rang. It was the relatives calling. They didn't blame Yuuta. They simply asked what he planned to do. Yuuta was still unsure about the future, but no matter what, he was determined to raise the girls, even though it would be difficult. He said he would work multiple part-time jobs if he had to. Hearing this, the relatives didn't say much. They only told him that if things became too hard and he couldn't go on, he could send the 3 girls to them to raise. The sun slowly began to set, and the 4 of them were still on their way home. Hina didn't know where they were going. She thought they were going to the airport to pick up her mom and dad, but Hina was still very young, and her attention was quickly pulled away by other things. They left the city and arrived in the countryside. At last, they reached the apartment where Yuuta lived. Hina was still excited when she arrived, but Yuuta told her that this was her new home. Hina was confused, because this place was smaller than the bathroom in her old house. Maybe because she noticed her 2 older sisters weren't feeling well. Hina didn't cry or throw a tantrum. After they cleaned up all the clutter in the apartment, the space didn't seem too bad. Then the 3 girls went to take a bath. Yuuta stood alone on the balcony, thinking about everything that had happened today. At that moment, Hina suddenly ran out and interrupted his thoughts. After taking a bath, Mil suggested that they play cards. Just then, Hina suddenly asked her two sisters when their mom and dad would come pick her up and take her home. Hina's question stunned everyone. Mil couldn't hold back anymore and ran outside by herself. All the strength she had shown before had been nothing but an act. Yuuta immediately ran after her. Sora grew more and more worried. At that moment, the sound of an ambulance echoed outside again. It made her even more frightened. When she saw Mil return, she couldn't help but throw herself into her arms. Yuuta laid out futons for them. The blankets were all ones Sora had brought from home. They smelled just like their old house, and that made the girls feel safe. After a long day, Yuuta finally went to wash up. He was exhausted, but when he looked at everyone's toothbrushes and toiletries lined up together, a warm feeling of family washed over him. It was something he had always lacked, and he made up his mind that he would take good care of these three girls. Early the next morning, Yuuta was woken up by all three girls at once. Then he quickly tidied up the living room and got ready to head to work. Just then, Hina's stomach growled. Yuuta suddenly realized he hadn't prepared breakfast, so he rushed to the convenience store and bought a huge pile of food for them. Seeing her uncle spend so much money on them, Sora tried to pay him back, but Yuuta would never accept it. He was heading out for work, and before leaving, he reminded the girls not to open the door for strangers. When Yuuta saw the three sisters waving goodbye to him, he felt genuinely happy. It made him feel even more like he finally had a home. Then Yu saw the receipt from all the groceries Yuuta bought. It was a lot of money. If this continued every day, Yuuta wouldn't last even a week. Sora had some money too. It was the allowance their dad had left her. But Mew knew Yuuta would never take money from them. Meanwhile, Yuuta was thinking about finding more part-time jobs. That's when he ran into a few college classmates. They'd noticed he hadn't shown up to class in days, and were really worried. Yuuta made up a random excuse and hurried away. Sora started cleaning the room, but Mew thought the room looked too plain and not cute at all. At that moment, Hina opened a cabinet, and a pile of messy clothes spilled out onto the floor. Startled, Mew accidentally spilled milk all over Yuta's underwear. So they all decided to do laundry, but the apartment didn't have a washing machine, so they planned to go to the laundromat, but Hina stood in their way, reminding them that Uncle Yuuta told them not to go outside. Still, after some gentle persuasion from her sisters, Hina finally gave in. They went to the laundromat and washed all the clothes clean. On their way back home, they passed by a vegetable shop. Sora bought a bunch of ingredients, planning to make dinner herself. At that same moment, Mew noticed that Hina had grabbed some markers and was drawing on the wall, so she joined her. She wanted to make their little home look prettier. Meanwhile, Sora finally finished cooking a big plate of food. She asked Hina to bring it to the table, but the moment Hina picked it up, she slipped and fell. The food scattered all over the floor. Right then, Yuuta called. He said he had to work overtime today and would be home late, so the girls decided they would personally cook dinner for Yuuta. Yuuta, exhausted after work, was starving. Sora planned to make beef patties, but she couldn't get the heat right. Before long, everything was burnt, and what came out in the end looked like a pile of charcoal. But Yuuta still ate it happily. He even brought them a gift, a strawberry cake. After dinner, Yuuta went to the convenience store to buy a few things. When he returned, he found Sora waiting outside. She was worried that Yuuta had spent so much money in the morning, and then still bought them cake at night. If things continued like this, their living expenses wouldn't last. But Yuuta told her not to worry about money. He would figure something out. Yuuta felt genuinely happy to have a family. In the morning, someone said goodbye when he left for work, and when he came home, someone said welcome back. That was what a home was. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. Sora was now 18 years old. She was a grown young woman. Yuuta had already graduated from college and had a stable job. Mew had turned 15. Even little Hina was already 8 years old. But on this day, two spirits appeared at their doorstep. Those two spirits were Yuri and Shingo, who had passed away years ago. Before reincarnating, they wanted to see their daughters one last time, so they returned to their former home. They even managed to ring the doorbell. Sadly, Sora couldn't see her parents at all. As spirits, they simply walked through the door. They noticed the way their daughters mashed fruit for jam. was exactly the same as when the family had been together. Hina was now a second grader in elementary school and could eat by herself. Sora's cooking had improved a lot. Miu could handle life on her own too. She even considered living alone when she entered high school, but both men immediately disagreed. Now, Yuuta had become like a real father. Over these 5 years, everyone had grown so much. Yuuta noticed Hina kept touching her ear. He asked if she was feeling sick. Hina said she wasn't. Then she happily grabbed her backpack and headed off to school. After everyone left the house, Yuri and Shingo began touring the girls' bedrooms. When they entered Sora's room, Yuri picked up one of Sora's bras and marveled at how much she had developed. She wondered if Sora had a boyfriend, but Shingo got upset and said it was still way too early for their daughter to be dating. Next, they visited Miu's room. They discovered that Miu had a strong talent for fashion design and trends. It seemed Miu had already decided what she wanted to do in the future. They even saw a photo of Miu with her biological mother. It looked like their relationship had been repaired as well. Then they went to Hina's room. There, they saw a display of Hina's growth over the past 4 years. They also found one of Hina's essays.
私にはお父さんもお母さんもいません。でも、おじさんとお姉ちゃんが2人いるので、毎日楽しいです。おじさんはいつも面白いことをしてくれて、時々怒るけど、いろんなことを教えてくれて、私は大好きです。私は大きくなったらおじさんみたいな人と結婚したいです。
After reading the essay, Yuri and Shingo understood that Yuuta had been doing everything he could to raise the 3 girls, and they knew it was almost time for them to leave. But Shingo couldn't help wanting to see how his daughters were doing in school. So they went to Hina's school first. She was in the middle of physical education class. One by one, the students jumped over the vaulting horse. It was almost Hina's turn, and when she jumped, it was as if she felt a mysterious force helping her. After watching Hina, they headed to Miu's school. She was in the middle of rehearsal for a performance. Miu was clearly one of the popular girls at school. She might even become an idol in the future. Then they went to see Sora. Sora had become the president of the choir club. She was someone everyone trusted. After school, a boy called out to Sora. She was close to graduation, and he wanted to confess his feelings before she left. But Sora turned him down, because she already liked someone, and Shingo overheard something even more shocking. Sora was going to get married. Stunned, Shingo wandered back home. There, he saw a pair of women's shoes by the door. It turned out to be Sasha, Miu's mother. She had brought a wedding dress designed for Sora, and written on it was a note saying it was a dress for Sora and Yuta's wedding. Hearing that, Shingo nearly lost his mind. He had trusted Yuuta with his daughters. He never imagined things would turn out like this. Yuri told him to calm down. She believed in the girls' choices. Then Shingo read Sora's diary and realized how hard their lives had been all these years. After that, the two of them went to take a bath. Yuri was worried about Hina. Every time Hina touched her ear, it meant she was going to get a fever soon. That night, when everyone got home, they all saw Sora's wedding dress. Hina and Miu wondered what kissing felt like, but they immediately said they had never kissed before. Shingo sighed in relief, but Yuri thought Yuuta was being too slow. Then they remembered Hina. When they went to her room, they found she really did have a fever. Yuri wanted to hold her, but she couldn't touch her at all. Seeing this, Shingo became even more opposed to Sora and Yuta's wedding. He felt Yuuta wasn't careful enough. He didn't even notice Hina was sick. But the moment he said that, Yuuta and Sora walked into the room and immediately began taking care of Hina. Half asleep, Hina murmured that she saw her mom and dad. She said her mom hugged her. Hearing that, Shingo and Yuri finally felt relieved. Then they went to their old bedroom. Everything inside looked just the way they had left it. Just as they were about to leave, they suddenly heard Sora's voice. Sora was wearing her mother's old wedding dress. Before the wedding, the two of them had something they wanted to say to Shingo and Yuri, so they had come to this room on purpose. Yuuta thanked his sister for raising him. He had always been embarrassed to say it before, but now he wanted to tell her that Yuri was the best sister in the world. Sora began talking about her childhood. Whenever she did something dangerous, her dad would get so angry, but he would always cheer her up immediately after. She had always wanted to grow up, so she could use her own salary to buy him gifts, take him on trips, and give him back massages. But now she would never have the chance. She hoped her dad would keep watching over them from the sky. At that moment, Sora and Yuuta felt as if someone were gently pushing them into each other's arms. And so, the story comes to an end. There were no shocking twists, no earth-shattering revelations. Yet, under the clumsy but sincere care of an uncle, 3 little girls who had lost their parents found a home full of warmth once again. Yuuta, whose heart had once been empty, slowly began to fill that emptiness with the laughter, the noise, and the chaos of a house full of daughters. In the end, the most beautiful kind of salvation isn't some miracle that falls from the sky. It's a group of wounded people holding on to each other, leaning on each other, turning a long, lonely night into a dawn full of light, one small step at a time. May everyone who's doing their best just to keep going be gently held by the passing of time, and may the road ahead of you always be warm and bright with every single step you take.